The first alert came in as a soft ping on a console at the Goddard Space Flight Center, barely enough to stir the exhaustion-heavy air of the overnight shift. Most operators assumed it was noise, an artifact, a glare spike, a temperature drift. But the second ping came louder, harder, a deliberate chirp of data, and by the third, the system had already tagged the incoming stream as high priority. The operator staring at the screen blinked twice, leaned forward, and mouthed the words before daring to say them out loud. This is coming from 3I/ATLAS. The room, once lethargic, turned electric. Chairs rolled back. Coffee was abandoned. Fingers hammered keys. The James Webb Space Telescope had observed the interstellar object before, but nothing, absolutely nothing, had ever behaved like this. The spectral signature was changing, not subtly, not gradually, violently, purposefully. For months, 3I/ATLAS had been cataloged as an anomaly, a second interstellar visitor after Oumuamua, puzzling but harmless. It drifted in on a hyperbolic trajectory, expected to swing past the solar system and be flung back into deep space. That was the assumption. That assumption had just died. New frames streamed in, a shimmering halo around the object, not reflective ice, not dust, but something metabolically active. Webb's infrared sensors showed patterns forming and dissolving on the surface like blooming coral under alien tides. Someone whispered, "It's life." Someone else corrected, "No, it's not just life, it's organized." Across the room, Dr. Elena Marev, the astrophysicist who had spent half her career studying non-terrestrial biosignatures, felt her breath seize. The patterns Webb detected were rhythmic, fractal, structured. Nature could be complex, but not intentional, not like this. In another part of the world, in the subterranean research vault beneath the Iraqi sands, where you had earlier described discoveries tied to vanished civilizations, scientists detected a faint spike in subspace resonance devices. The odd thing was the timing. It coincided exactly with Webb's detection of 3I/ATLAS's biological bloom. The director of the Iraqi dig project, Dr. Karim al-Hasir, stared at his monitor and rubbed a hand across his face. The signals emerging from the ancient engravings they still struggled to decode pulsed in a pattern identical to the new Atlas readings. That was no coincidence. That was connection. At NASA, alarms shifted from yellow to red, not because the object carried life, but because the life was reacting. Webb sent a routine calibration pulse, standard operations, and Atlas responded. It brightened. It changed speed. It turned. Objects the size of a skyscraper traveling at tens of thousands of miles per hour did not simply turn. They followed physics. But 3I/ATLAS defied that expectation, bending its path with a grace that was either propulsion or instinct. Marev felt her knees weaken. It's coming closer. The control room fell silent, the kind of silence that preceded the end of certainty. Webb's instruments recorded a slow but undeniable alteration in trajectory. 3I/ATLAS was no longer on a pass-by path. It was curving inward toward the inner solar system, toward Earth's neighborhood. Within an hour, the White House Situation Room filled with advisors, analysts, and scientists who hadn't slept in days. Nobody wanted to say what they were all thinking. Humanity had always dreamed about life from beyond the stars. The dream had never included the possibility that it might already know we existed. Major networks broke into programming with breaking news banners. The words felt surreal. James Webb detects life on interstellar visitor. Online feeds erupted with conspiracy theories, religious declarations, scientific awe, and apocalyptic predictions. Yet the truth was stranger than all of them. Atlas was accelerating. Acceleration required energy. Energy implied control. Control suggested intelligence. Meanwhile, deep beneath Iraq, researchers observed something even stranger. The engravings, those ancient spirals and intersecting glyphs found near the burial chamber that had captivated archaeologists for months, began emitting faint vibrations. They weren't audible, not in a traditional sense. They were subharmonic pulses, low frequency and otherworldly. Sensors captured the rhythmic oscillations and forwarded the data to every major space research center on the planet. The match was nearly perfect. Atlas and the tomb's symbols pulsed in tandem. Back at NASA, Marev gathered her team. "This isn't a coincidence," she said, her voice trembling. "Those inscriptions weren't random. They were a memory, a record of something that visited Earth before." A junior researcher asked the question nobody wanted to address. If the patterns match, Does that mean the life on ATLAS has been here? Elena nodded slowly. Either that, or it left something behind. Data streamed across giant displays as Webb captured microstructures forming on Atlas's surface. The biological mass, if that word even applied, was shaping itself into symmetrical ridges, arcs, geometric clusters. They looked disturbingly like architecture, or worse, like communication devices. World governments initiated emergency collaborations. The SETI network coordinated its antennas, blasting narrowband emissions toward the object. But Atlas did not answer in radio waves. It answered with light, shifting wavelengths, elaborate bursts of color only visible in narrow infrared spectrums. Marev stared at the patterns, her mind racing. It's not communication in the way we think. It's behavioral, responsive, like bioluminescence codes, someone muttered, like a signal fire. But to whom? The question lingered like smoke. Weeks passed, each one escalating tension across the globe. Atlas drew closer, altering its trajectory with unnerving precision. Militaries braced for contingencies. Scientists pleaded against rash decisions. Faith leaders offered interpretations that varied wildly, from divine arrival to ancient return. And through it all, Webb kept watching. On day 19, new scans revealed something that shattered whatever calm remained. Beneath the biological clusters, beneath the organic sheen, lay structure. Not natural formations, but clean lines, cavities, chambers, a vessel, or something like one. Elena Marev felt her mouth go dry. It's not carrying life, she whispered. It is life, and it's carrying something else. A low, humming sound filled the room as the latest transmission came through. Not from Webb, from Iraq. The tomb's engravings began glowing faintly under ultraviolet scanners. The resonance pulse grew stronger, aligning perfectly with ATLAS's emissions. It was as if the object in space and the relic on Earth were speaking the same language across eons. Dr. Al-Hasir transmitted urgent footage to NASA, sequences of symbols shifting subtly as vibrations rearranged micrograins of sand clinging to the ancient carvings. The symbols weren't static. They never had been. They were reactive. Marev studied the footage for hours, comparing the tomb's pulsations with Atlas's spectral sequences. She froze the screen when she saw it, one pattern repeating every time Atlas adjusted trajectory. A spiral intersected by 3 arcs. She had seen it before, carved onto stone walls beneath Iraqi sands, etched into the sealed chamber where the ancient skeleton had lain. The same chamber whose DNA samples contained anomalies not found in any human lineage. The conclusion was unavoidable. Atlas wasn't approaching Earth for the first time. Panic began to ripple through the highest tiers of global leadership. Should humanity respond, hide, prepare defenses, or simply watch an intelligence older than civilization approach? Webb captured a new burst from Atlas, a brilliant flare of patterned infrared. Marev converted it into visible light. The image that emerged shook everyone, a rotating 3-arc spiral identical to the tomb's glyph. A call? A declaration, a memory, and then something even more terrifying. The object slowed. Objects on hyperbolic trajectories didn't slow unless something forced them to. Physics didn't work that way, yet Atlas shed velocity like a living creature gently braking before a landing. Marev pressed a hand against her mouth. It's preparing for proximity. Around the world, telescopes pivoted upward. Citizens flooded streets. Schools closed. Governments urged calm. News anchors spoke with trembling voices. On the 40th day, the anomaly reached the edge of the inner system. Webb tracked it continuously, relaying images that defied belief. The biological surface opened, peeling back like petals, revealing a core of shimmering lattice. The structures inside emitted flickering light that pulsed rhythmically. Marev enlarged the image and gasped. Not lights. Eyes. Not anatomical ones, but clusters of photoreceptive tissues, like vast biological sensors scanning the void. "We're being watched back," someone whispered. The data feed trembled. Atlas emitted another flare, but this time, it wasn't aimed into space. It was directed toward Earth. The signal struck the atmosphere, distorted, then rippled across satellite networks. Devices everywhere, from smartphones to broadcast towers, glitched simultaneously. Screens turned black, then displayed a single, swirling symbol, the spiral of 3 arcs, the same symbol found beneath Iraqi sands, the same symbol Atlas had been broadcasting, the same symbol that seemed to whisper of civilizations long forgotten. Marev felt chills rise across her entire body. It's broadcasting to the surface, not randomly, to something or someone specific. Meanwhile, the Iraqi excavation site became a focal point of global attention. The tomb chamber vibrated audibly now, sand shifting across the floor in symmetrical currents. The symbol etched into the chamber glowed faintly, not lit from within, but energized from afar, awakened by ATLAS's arrival. Dr. Al-Hasir filmed the phenomenon, his voice shaky. It reacts to the object, it recognizes it. The implications were incomprehensible. Had ancient beings once encountered ATLAS, worshipped it, feared it, or ridden aboard it? NASA convened emergency meetings. SETI attempted to modulate a reply through narrow infrared pulses, but every attempted message elicited the same response. Atlas slowing yet further, adjusting its arc toward Earth. Then the object did the impossible. It stopped, completely, suspended in the vacuum between Mars and Earth, motionless relative to the Sun, a feat beyond propulsion, beyond technology, beyond the physics humankind understood. Marev stared at the telemetry. "It's waiting." "For what?" someone asked. Before she could answer, the tomb in Iraq gave it. Sensors picked up a sudden surge. The carvings burst into full luminescence. The chamber trembled, and then, for the first time, the symbols rearranged, the sand shifting, swirling into new patterns, forming a message humans could almost read. A sequence, then another, then a final glyph. Atlas responded instantly. A beam of soft golden light extended from the object, narrow, precise, beautiful, like a finger reaching across the cosmic dark. It wasn't aimed at Earth. Not yet. It was aimed at the space between worlds. The beam resolved into particles, living particles, spores, seeds, motes of organic brilliance drifting through space on a directed path. A delivery, a return, a restoration. Humanity watched, breathless, as the shimmering stream arced toward the inner solar system, dancing like dust in sunlit currents. Marev clenched her fists. It's sending something here, something alive. Governments panicked, defense systems locked onto the object. Drones scrambled, but no weapon fired. Nobody dared risk provoking something so far beyond human understanding. As the shimmering stream approached Earth's magnetic field, it slowed, suspended by forces unseen. The particles arranged themselves into a swirling cloud, forming the ancient symbol once more, hovering like a cosmic sigil in the upper atmosphere. The tomb chamber in Iraq pulsed in perfect synchrony. Marev finally understood. It's not invading. It's returning something that was left behind. The world watched in awe, terror, and reverence as the cloud of life drifted downward, gentle as snow, luminous as starlight, ancient as memory. James Webb recorded every moment, silent witness to a reunion across millennia. Atlas hovered still, as if waiting for acknowledgement, for recognition, for completion of a cycle older than human civilization. Marev whispered the words that now felt undeniable. They were here before, and now they're coming home. The world braced, the skies shimmered, and the object, alive and watching, began its final descent. People across continents looked upward as the heavens dimmed. It wasn't an eclipse, not in the proper sense. No shadow blocked the sun. It was something else, a thinning of the light, as if the atmosphere itself was becoming aware, attuned, reactive. Atlas hung above Earth like a second moon, its biological fields pulsing with low, synchronized luminescence. In every major city, New York, Karachi, Rome, Tokyo, crowds froze mid-stride. Traffic stalled, screens glitched, then rebooted with the same spiral motif. Children pointed upward as the sky seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting with each pulse from the alien visitor. Marev stood inside the Goddard observation deck, surrounded by trembling scientists and military observers. Her voice was barely audible. It's calibrating, matching atmospheric density, aligning itself. To what? Someone asked. But they already suspected the answer. Deep underground in Iraq, Dr. Al-Hasir felt the chamber tremble violently. The sand above their heads sifted in slow avalanches. The glyphs pulsed brighter now, no longer faint. They glowed like molten gold. The air grew warm, not physically, but perceptually, as if the chamber were remembering heat from a time long buried. And then, movement. The ancient sarcophagus, sealed for millennia, began to shift, not by human hands, not by machinery, but by resonance, responding to ATLAS's song. Al-Hasir stumbled back, heart pounding. This shouldn't be possible. The lid slid, stone grinding stone. A gust of air older than history escaped, a dry, cold whisper. The skeletal remains inside glimmered faintly under the shifting light, the anomalous DNA markers reacting to the frequencies in the chamber. Above, in orbit, Atlas unfurled another layer of biological lattice. New structures revealed themselves, flowing, organic, like petals opening to daylight. They shimmered, repositioning, rotating. It looked almost ceremonial. Marav felt tears prick her eyes. It's not descending for conquest. It's descending for contact, an engineer whispered. But contact with whom? Satellite feeds captured a breathtaking sight. The shimmering cloud of life, those motes glowing like microscopic stars, descended through the ionosphere. As they passed through the geomagnetic field, they shifted color, adjusting, adapting, becoming something new yet ancient. Across Earth's surface, weather patterns distorted, winds stilled. Storm systems paused mid-rotation. Ocean tides hesitated for a moment that defied physics, held in cosmic breath. Humanity collectively felt a pressure behind the eyes, not painful, but profound, as if a forgotten memory were being gently pushed to the surface. Marav gripped the console. "We're being synchronized." No one responded. Everyone felt it. In Iraq, Al-Hasir approached the sarcophagus. The bones inside vibrated visibly now, resonant with the frequencies from above, and then he saw it, the faint illumination inside the skull cavity. Not light, not energy, information. "It's activating," he whispered. Above, Atlas released a final pulse. Longer, lower, deeper. The skies shimmered with a rippling metallic sheen. Every animal on Earth sensed it. Birds took flight in unison. Whales breached. Wolves lifted their heads. Insects stilled. The biosphere responded as one organism. The shimmering cloud reached the troposphere. It separated into streams, 5, 10, dozens, branching outward like rivers of light. Each stream sought something. Mountain ranges, ancient ruins, ocean trenches, volcanic calderas, places long entwined with humanity's oldest myths. "They're returning to their original sites," Marav said in awe. A general stepped forward, voice strained. "We need to prepare defensive responses. This may be—" "No," Marav spun toward him. "If we interrupt this, we destroy something we don't understand. We don't have the luxury of trusting it," he growled. She pointed to the screens. "You don't have the luxury of stopping it." Indeed, Atlas was now beyond any human intervention. Every missile failed to lock. Every targeting system glitched. Aircraft refused manual override, turning harmlessly aside. The object shielded itself with elegant biological defenses. Not hostile, simply impenetrable. The streams of light continued descending, and then the first point of contact. A beam of shimmering particles touched the sands above the Iraqi tomb. The ground hummed. Dust lifted and danced in spirals. The air warmed. Al-Hasir shielded his face. The sarcophagus inside responded. The bones trembled, then compressed, splintering, dissolving, until a dust of iridescent particles rose gently from the stone bed. The dust coiled upward, slipping through cracks in the ceiling, drawn toward the descending stream. Above the desert, the two met, a union of what had been left behind and what had returned for it. Marav watched the data feed. Her voice cracked. It's retrieving a lost part of itself. In cities across the world, people watched as streams of light gently touched Earth's surface, each a reunion centuries or millennia overdue. Atlas hung above, silent, watching, and then came the sound. Not a tone, not a frequency, a memory, not heard with ears, but felt in the marrow. A whisper older than recorded history. A message imprinted across consciousness itself. One word. "Return!" Marav stumbled back, gripping her chest. The message wasn't just for the ancient genetic remnants. It wasn't just for whatever had been seeded on Earth thousands of years ago. It was for humanity. Screens blazed with symbols. The skies vibrated. The light streams converged once more into a single towering column reaching from Earth to Atlas like a bridge. Al-Hasir fell to his knees as the tomb shook violently one last time, then stilled. The bones were gone. The chamber was silent. Above, the column of light brightened, brilliant, golden, alive. Something was ascending. Marav's breath caught. "It's taking it back." Atlas pulsed, welcoming what rose toward it. The object's biological lattice shifted. forming a cocoon-like structure expanding to receive the returning essence. And then, Atlas spoke, not in words, in resonance. Its call rolled across the planet like a soft thunder, echoing in the air, in the ground, in the blood. Humanity felt it as a single unified shiver, a question, a plea, a warning, or an invitation. The skies parted as Atlas opened fully, an immense, living architecture pulsing like the heart of a star. Inside, shadows moved, shapes, figures not yet revealed but unmistakably sentient. Marev whispered hoarsely, "We're not witnessing first contact." Her eyes widened. "We're witnessing continuity." The world held its breath. The cocoon closed. Atlas dimmed, and then, slowly, elegantly, it began turning toward Earth. The cocoon closed. Atlas dimmed. And then, slowly, elegantly, it began turning toward Earth. A ripple of panic and awe swept the globe. Governments convened, militaries braced, scientists calculated trajectories down to fractions of a millimeter, but nothing could prepare humanity for what came next. The golden column of light began dispersing, raining particles across the deserts, the oceans, the forests, in patterns that mirrored ancient constellations. Every particle pulsed with a faint life, shimmering with colors unseen by human eyes. Marev's console vibrated gently, displaying readings that defied logic. "They're mapping the planet," she muttered. "Not just targeting, not just scanning, they're cataloging, integrating, recognizing." In Iraq, Al-Hasir watched as the final streams of light touched the tomb chamber. Sand rose in spirals, then fell, leaving nothing disturbed except for the glyphs, which glowed faintly, then faded, their purpose fulfilled. "This isn't destruction," he whispered. "It's acknowledgement, reunion, restoration." In orbit, Webb captured the spectacle. Atlas adjusted its position, hovering with grace over the Indian Ocean. The golden light pulses converged, forming an enormous spiral that mirrored the symbols etched in the ancient tomb. The world recognized it subconsciously, a deep-seated resonance that stirred something primal. Children laughed and cried simultaneously. Animals howled and roared, yet no one could explain why. Humanity collectively felt as if remembering something long forgotten. The global feeds filled with awe-stricken footage. Cities like Tokyo, Paris, Cairo, and Sao Paulo shared the same scene. Golden streams descending from the sky, shimmering over streets, mountains, and seas, leaving patterns of iridescence in their wake. Marev realized something terrifying and beautiful at once. The streams were alive. Not just particles or spores, but semi-sentient entities capable of interacting with Earth's biosphere. "They're repairing," she said, voice trembling. "Or teaching, reawakening something dormant." Atlas emitted another pulse, this one slower, deliberate. The golden light extended, forming arcs that moved like fingers, touching forests, rivers, and even human settlements, though no harm came. Instead, the air seemed to hum. The wind carried a gentle warmth, and the soil itself shivered beneath the touch. In Iraq, Al-Hasir felt a presence, a weight in the air, a memory pressing against consciousness. The sarcophagus was empty, yet he could feel it. The essence had left, ascending to meet Atlas. For a moment, the world seemed to pause. Every electronic device, every satellite, every human consciousness was attuned, even faintly, to the pulse of the approaching entity. Marev's eyes locked on the display. Atlas's surface shimmered, revealing patterns not random but deliberate, symbols rearranging, morphing, communicating. The resemblance to the Iraqi glyphs was undeniable. "It's speaking again," she whispered. "But not in a way we can hear, in a way we can feel." As the days passed, the global community witnessed a subtle transformation. Rivers glowed faintly at night. Trees shimmered under moonlight. Oceans reflected strange, iridescent patterns. Those who came into direct contact with the golden streams reported visions, landscapes they had never seen, languages they couldn't understand, memories that felt borrowed. Atlas began a slow descent, closer to Earth. Its biological lattice pulsed with increasing intensity, as if gathering energy, drawing the dispersed particles back into itself. The world watched, frozen between fear and awe. In New York, a crowd gathered in Central Park, looking skyward. Phones and cameras failed to capture the brilliance fully. The human eye perceived colors and movement that sensors could not detect. The golden streams wrapped around the city, hovering without touching the ground, forming delicate spirals that shifted rhythmically. "It's beautiful," someone whispered. "It's alive." Meanwhile, international scientists monitored the object's subtle gravitational effects. Minor fluctuations disrupted satellite orbits. Tides shifted ever so slightly. Atmospheric currents danced. Marev realized Atlas was not passive. It was interacting with the planet itself, recalibrating, harmonizing. In Iraq, Al-Hasir observed the tomb for the last time. The glyphs no longer pulsed. They had transferred their purpose elsewhere, into Atlas, into the streams, into the very air. The chamber was quiet, emptied of its ancient message. Humanity's past, long buried, had been reconnected to the present. Atlas hovered above the Pacific Ocean. The golden streams coalesced into a single, luminous globe hovering just above the water. The object itself shimmered, expanding and contracting rhythmically, as if breathing. Marev's monitors displayed an array of spectral readings that suggested metabolic processes, intelligence, and intent all at once. The global public erupted into a mixture of awe, worship, and fear. Some kneeled, some cried, some fled, unable to process the enormity of what they were witnessing. Yet no one could deny it. Something greater than humanity had arrived, and yet it was not here to conquer. It was here to reconnect. From the core of Atlas, a soft resonance emerged, reaching across oceans, continents, and deserts. People reported feelings of clarity, of awakening, as if their own consciousness was momentarily synced with something far older, far wiser. Marev stood frozen, unable to speak, watching the energy flows converge. "It's merging," she breathed. "Not with us, with Earth." The golden globe expanded slowly, lifting slightly into the sky, its glow intensifying. Atlas seemed to envelop it, the lattice expanding like a protective shell. Particles of life returned, spinning around the globe, forming rings of luminescent matter. Then, the unthinkable happened. The globe began to rotate, slowly, purposefully. As it did, energy arcs projected from it, brushing across the atmosphere, leaving faint golden trails that persisted like the wake of a ship in water. In Iraq, Al-Hasir felt the tomb vibrate one last time. The ground beneath the chamber shuddered, then stilled. It was as if the planet itself had exhaled. Across the world, citizens looked upward. Animals returned to normal patterns. The weather resumed its rhythms. Yet something had changed. Earth itself seemed subtly different, imbued with a resonance, a memory, a pulse borrowed from a visitor older than time. Marev could hardly believe what she was witnessing. "It's a restoration," she murmured, "a reawakening of something we didn't even know we had lost." Atlas pulsed one final time. The golden globe dissolved into a shower of light particles that drifted harmlessly through the atmosphere, scattering into the oceans, forests, deserts, and mountains. Each particle carried a memory, a fragment of intelligence, a gift of life. And then, as silently as it had arrived, Atlas began to drift upward, slower now, leaving the planet. Its biological lattice shimmered, retracting into a compact form. The sky returned to normal shades of blue, the clouds drifting lazily, unaware of what had transpired. Marev exhaled, her body trembling. "It's leaving." Al-Hasir watched the last glimmers of the golden streams fade above Iraq. The tomb was silent. The sands, once disturbed, settled in perfect stillness. The world had been touched, irrevocably, by something that transcended human comprehension. For a moment, the planet seemed to hold its breath. Then, life resumed. Slowly, subtly, humanity began to sense the change. The air felt richer, trees seemed greener, waters clearer. Even the light of the sun seemed to shine differently, carrying an echo of what had descended from the stars. And above, at the edge of the solar system, Atlas paused once more. Its lattice shimmered, scanning the Earth one last time. Then, without warning, it shot into the void, leaving no trace beyond memory, data, and the golden resonance left behind. Marev collapsed into her chair, exhausted but alive. She whispered to no one in particular, "They came, and they remembered us." Across the globe, humanity would never see Atlas again. Yet every heartbeat, every gust of wind, every shimmer of sunlight carried the subtle echo of its passage. Something ancient had returned to the Earth and had left a piece of itself behind. And somewhere, deep in space, ATLAS watched, patient, eternal, awaiting the moment when the next cycle would begin. The world, forever altered, slowly realized the truth. Life had come from the stars, and in its passing, it had whispered to humanity that we were never truly alone. The skies remained calm, but the memory of that golden descent lingered, etched into consciousness, encoded into DNA, woven into the rhythm of the planet itself. For Marav, Al-Hasir, and all who had witnessed it, there was one final, undeniable certainty. We had been remembered, we had been touched, we had been entrusted, and the universe had waited for us to awaken. The night fell, calm and bright. Stars shimmered faintly, and Earth, for the first time in millennia, felt like part of something larger, connected, alive, and never alone. Atlas was gone, but its message remained. The planet exhaled, and life, in all its forms, began to hum.